This is a regular meeting of the Guam Public Utilities Commission, August 29th, 2024. It is 6:35 p.m. First order of business is approval of minutes. All commissioners are present this evening with the exception of Mrs. Brooks. First order of business is approval of the minutes of July 25th, 2024. I have a motion.
Your motion to approve subject to corrections.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Which one's
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is Docomo docket number 2401, petition for annual USAC certification. We have an ALJ report and a USAC certification, and I believe Mr. Pangolin has something to say first.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I have to recuse myself on this docket item as Docomo is a client of my law firm.
Thank you, Mr. Pangolin. Fred?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Docomo has filed a petition requesting what we call USAC certification. And you commissioners are very familiar with this program from having addressed it over the years. Basically, the FCC and the Services Administration give grants or funds to telecom companies in Guam and around the country. And this is for the purpose of providing certain services, core services required under the law. The Telecom Act, Section 254E, basically provides that universal service funds may be used only for the designated purposes in the federal act. And I've run through the 9 core services with you on many times. They're set forth in the report that I have filed in this matter. Basically, there are 2 things that Docomo must certify in its petition. And that's first, that it provides the 9 core services required by the federal act. And secondly, that funds given to them, the USAC funds, will only be used for the specific purposes set forth in the Act. And we do, in this case, have a certification from the Chief Executive Officer of Docomo, Christine Valento, which certifies that they provide the core services and that the funds will only be used for these specific purposes. At the beginning, I did not indicate, we have 2 representatives from Docomo here tonight, Ron Brewster and Davina Alvarez. So in the petition, Docomo has to satisfy certain requirements. And a most important one, as I said, is the certification that all the services required are provided, and that the funds will only be used for those specific services. A second, probably most important aspect is every year when Docomo files its petition, it provides a 5-year plan. And the 5-year plan is updated every year. The purpose of that plan is to indicate exactly how are the funds being used in Guam, and what services are being provided. And as you know, these funds are definitely a benefit for the telecom companies, as well as for the customers in Guam, because they allow companies such as Docomo to be able to improve its services. Many of the services in the telecom area, the laying of fiber and other aspects, are really very expensive. And it's certainly the case with Docomo, as with most of the other telecom companies, that the USAC funds are only really a small part of the cost of improving their system. Getting back to the 5-year plan, Docomo has updated its plan this year to cover the 5 years, and that was attached to their petition. Most of what Docomo, as well as the other companies at this point, are doing with these funds are using them to provide direct fiber to the home That's the FTTH island-wide program. We've covered this in prior years also. That seems to be a major focus. DPAC, Docomo, did experience some damage from Typhoon Marwar, in fact, a lot of damage, I believe, to the FTTH nodes. So much of what they're doing this year and will do in subsequent years is to put in new nodes, and they have a total of 30 nodes converted to the fiber to the home program, which will be in effect by the end of this year. Also, they're currently working with the Guam Power Authority to swap underground conduits. That's an ongoing program too. The Docomo, in its 5-year plan, has set forth what it plans to do for each of the 5 years from 2025 through 2028. They're going to continue to collect local homes and businesses with direct fiber to the home. They are planning to create redundant loops in southern and northern Guam through the GPA fiber swap. And all of these projects are funded, at least in small part, by high-cost support. There are a number of other certifications required by Docomo, and they've provided all of them. They did experience a couple of outages in 2023, one of which was caused by Typhoon Marwar. They haven't had any unfulfilled requests for services in 2023. They're not aware of any complaints filed with the PUC or regulatory body by their customers. They have a local usage plan, and they've acknowledged that PUC could require them to provide equal access to long-distance carriers if no other eligible telecommunication carrier could do. So based on my review of their petition, all the documentation provided, they have indicated that they did receive support during year 2023, and that all that support for the Interstate Common Life Support Program, BIND program, was the funds were used to support that program. So it does appear that in FY 2023, the USAC funds were used by Docomo for the purposes intended. It's therefore my opinion that there is a sufficient factual and evidentiary basis on which the Commission can reasonably certify that the universal support funds distributed to Docomo in calendar year 2025 will be used in accord with the purposes and requirements stated in the Federal Act and Code of Federal Regulation. I'm recommending that Docomo request for USAC certification be granted. As usual, I have prepared a certification order which would, upon approval, be submitted to the FCC and to the Universal Service Administration Company. And it basically would indicate that approve this request, that tonight the PUC has found that Docomo is eligible.
Thank you, Fred. Any comments from anyone at Docomo? Oh, okay. Any questions from the commissioners? We're waiting for it.
Yeah, for just the policy, is there we have to have a motion on this to actually approve this and be signing this document? Or is it
No, only the chairman. Historically, it's only the chairman. But we do need a motion from the commission. Sign it, please. Where are you referring? What page?
Page 6. The document indicates you.
Yeah, they refer to it as frozen, but I don't know exactly why.
In the whole.
I did, well, they hold it until the certification is given. So if, for example, the commission did not approve or even submitted the certification untimely, they could be denied support until it's.
Anything else? A motion?
Motion to approve docket 2401.
Second. All in favor, say aye. The motion carries. Thank you, Docomo. Next item is GPA docket number 2421, petition to approve contract with Temis Incorporated to overhaul PD7. We have an ALJ report and a proposed order. Fred?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Just a little background there, first of all. This matter does come before the Commission upon GPA's petition for review and approval of the contract with Temis to overhaul PD7. The PD7 plant is a 40 megawatt combustion turbine. It was commissioned in December 1997 by Temis under a build, operate, and transfer contract for a 20-year term. The plant was turned over to GPA in December of 2017 and has been operated and maintained by GPA ever since. Now, up to 2017, Temis was the performance manager for the plant. But since then, it has not been the performance. I wanted to, as better privilege, point out that actually I was the general counsel in 1996. At the time the Temis contract was negotiated, I was a part of the negotiation. Negotiations went well, but I think Temis has become a good partner of GPA over the years on different projects. Certainly familiar with Temis and the history of its creation. So the issue before you tonight really is whether you should approve the overhaul at a cost of $3.5 million. And that was approved by the Consolidated Commission. The issue then, really the only issue before you on this is whether you should approve the overhaul and the cost. And as I pointed out, GPA hasn't had a PMC for PD7 since 2017, but it did have a contract for other plants other than Temis. I believe Machenche, Chigo, can't remember all of them that were included, but PD7 is not included in the contract. And I think the reason was, I believe GPA went out on a bid to get a PMC for PD7, but there were protests. It was unable to proceed with that contract. But what it did instead, it took the existing contract with other combustion turbine plants in 2023, amended that contract to provide that GPA would authorize Temis to provide operation and maintenance services to support the PDCT plan. And the scope of that and the price was to be negotiated between GPA and Temis. So that's what GPA has done. Even though Temis is not the PNC, a contract for the overhaul. Now, on the overhaul itself, there was one done in 2016, and I included some excerpts from the report on that. which indicated the things that are done in these overhauls. Check of generator status, auxiliary equipment, voltage transformer, ground resistance measurement, rotor, coil disassembly and cleaning. There are various aspects that 2016. I think those are normally done. Here, GPA has indicated there could be different services provided, maybe some of the same ones that were done in 2016, but they definitely could be different. GPA has estimated the cost at $3.5 billion. They've updated costs on what the labor will be for this, and they've decided to buy some refurbished cars in order to be able to work the overhaul. And they supported that with certain attachments that were made to their responses to discovery requests. And I had, when I received the submitted various requests for information, detailed requests, and they did respond, provided a lot of information in response to those requests. GPA intends to complete the project in FY 2025, probably around May, because they still have to order parts, and they're not quite sure when those will arrive. They're hoping the overhaul project can begin in February or March of next year. Now, I want to point out that decision on the overhaul involves a number of things. It's not just the cost of the overhaul, because to operate and run chemists, there's a fuel expense. EPA provides the cost of fuel. As far as I can determine, that has been somewhere in the area of $40 million a year. And there's also operation and maintenance expense. EPA is the one maintaining the plant. Now, when I first looked at this, I really thought there were some really serious issues about whether this should be done or not, whether the money should be spent, both for the overhaul and the yearly expense. Because of the fact that the Ookadoo plant, 198 megawatts, is coming online soon. And I wondered whether it made sense to pay all this money for PD7 in light of the fact that we have had some new megawatts coming online. There's been the GIGO CT that was repaired. There have been the GIGO diesels that are being repaired. We've got the 20 megawatts of temporary power that have come online. The Tenjo Vista CTs were repaired. So the question is, will we really need the megawatts provided by PD7 after the Ookadoo and other plants come on? And we've got a lot of solar projects, Hanwha in 2026 with 41 megawatts. You know, there's a question, do we really need that 40 megawatts? And right now, PD is only providing 23 megawatts. There's a question there, and other questions I had about the efficiency of these. It just so happened, one of the issues that came up in the TWA Waterworks case was power expense for the Water Authority. And our consultant, Georgetown, had done a list of costs of each of the plants in the GPA system. It turns out that the PD plant is probably the second most expensive PD7 plant of all our generators. It's running around 33 cents per kilowatt hour. It has a very high heat rate, and its productivity per barrel of oil is one of the lowest. So I have to say, when I first thought about it, I had very, very serious concerns. But I will say that then they provided me with a lot of information, more detail about what they need and why it was necessary to have this backup. First of all, GPA said that PD7 in any event, is going to provide power for the year until the Ukadu plant is fully operational. Now, I think the argument is, we're still very on the edge, let's say, about having enough capacity to meet the load. We've seen what GPA can do in the last number of years. I mean, they've done an admirable job of getting enough options and alternatives to produce the capacity, but it hasn't been easy. So I think that's a good argument. And in fact, certainly thinking that the other night when I was sitting at home eating and the power went out. It's an outage. So this could still happen. And for now anyway, we don't have these other plants. So that's a pretty good argument, certainly for the year we would need it. But it goes beyond that. Actually, GPA intends, they said, to use this plant for at least 5 more years. So after we have Ukadu and the Hanwha plant in 2026, there's not going to be any additional capacity until the new solar phase 4 projects come online. And you might have seen in the paper that GPA is now, I believe, has approved 2 projects under phase 4. But those won't be ready for a number of years. In the meantime, when other units are down, PD7 would provide reserve capacity to support the maintenance. Other units down, there's a benefit to having PD. Also, they pointed out to me that we're really in a period of load growth. This morning, I heard Commissioner Sanchez say on the radio that we're now at about 260 megawatt load. The load is going up. It's increasing. That's another good reason to make sure we have sufficient load capacity. But even beyond that, GPA has been researching what kind of load is going to come on island in the next few years. And they have found that there's potentially 38 megawatts of military projects that are going to come online. And additionally, another 36 megawatts for private and government projects. So again, it makes sense in a period of increasing load like that, we should make sure we have sufficient reserve capacity. Looking at the historical data between 2016 and 2024, PD7 has produced a lot of generation, and it's not consistent. The lowest year was over 30 million kilowatt hours, and the highest over 124 million kilowatt hours. But in recent years, actually, the use of PD7 has gone up. And in terms of combustion turbine engines, I believe it's the one that produces the most power at present compared to the other plants. So these are all 4 good reasons in my mind. I kind of reconsidered my original concerns about the efficiency. I felt that we has made a good case for the overall to make sure that we can meet our load capacity. So for that reason, I've recommended that the PUC approve the request, cost of up to $3.5 million, and I've prepared an order for your consideration.
Thank you, Fred. John, comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We agree with Fred, of course, and things are different today than we were sitting there 3 or 4 years ago. That's the growth that we're experiencing. Other than, in addition to that, just not having the capacity. So yes, when the power went out the other day, PV7 is down for maintenance right now. That's going to come up into the end of the month. The 57 has been one of the most reliable units. It's a reserve unit, so therefore it does cost more to operate. But normally you don't operate it. It's cost more because of fuel cost, but normally you don't operate it when you have the other capacities that are there to feed. So we didn't have G2. Bedroom CT1 and 2 is the most expensive. But if you look again, it's been operating since before the typhoon and most especially after the typhoon. So we really have no choice but to keep the units running, and then we come up and we look again as to which units are we going to keep in the future years. Battery system, the ESS, is what's going to start to shape the peak. The peak the other night was at 267. And that's the highest it's been in about 7 years or so. Then followed by 258, 259, all in August and something. So the trend is now starting to move up in capacity. So yes, we certainly need PD7 has been one of our most reliable units. It gives us 33 megawatts. For sure, if we can get some issues repaired on it. And the reason why it's down right now is the starting motor. The engine to start the unit. Very hard to replace it. And we brought in a team to overhaul the whole starting unit. Once it's on, we'll be shutting it down, turning it on, back and forth. But we didn't shut it down for a long time in fear of not starting up again. If it doesn't start up again, that's 30, even 23 megawatt or 26 that we can push it to. We don't have to. So that's all we've been doing per se. That's why you're seeing the higher numbers. But again, when Sukudu comes on, the reserve is still needed, but your fuel costs, everything will start to drop down substantially, as we have noted before. Ukudu is going to save about over 800,000 barrels a year. That's where the fuel savings and everything is going to. Everything that we have noted before will come into place. But right now, much we can do, and then with the Ukudu coming online, every 4 years we have to overhaul the turbine, the steam turbine. We can't run anything more than one unit up there. So therefore, we have to have the reserves also to be able to run that. And that's one of the reserves that is there. Until we can get batteries to shape the peak. And Hamwa is there, again, but it says 22 megawatts. Phase 4, 330 megawatts came in on the bid. I asked the commission, our intention is to, after each one has gone through a system impact study and understand exactly what are the infrastructure transmission line that they need to put in, and they can put it in at the price that they have bid on, then we'll be coming to recommend those to the PUC. Right now, the two that are basically ready is 132 megawatt by KEPCO Consortium Group and 60 megawatt by Cortec up in Harbor area next to the existing power plant facility. And that has 97 megawatts of battery for 4 hours. So therefore, you can now shape that peak. Essentially, we can run it at 97 for 4 hours or drop it down to about 47 for 8 hours. So now you're starting to get rid of the peak. Oak Grove, we provided some information. Two things that stand out. One, DOD already has 36 for missile defense, 36 megawatt. What they have given us is that they're looking to be at a 100 megawatt plus by 2033. And right now they're at 45. So that's a huge jump into, and again, 100 megawatts plus, no? The other thing, as we had noted before, is we wanted to start seeing data centers, right? If you look at the listing that we've given, has about 13 megawatts of data centers that are either coming on soon or being planned right now. There's ITE, GTA, and others that are looking at it. There's some discussion with some group with Google and others that are looking up again up there in the Harmon area. So again, more and more data centers are coming into play. And again, just like I noted, once we can get the price of energy down and then maintain that price of energy so that it doesn't just jump up to the ceiling like it did recently, go to 31 cents a kilowatt hour, they won't count. Because they can lose their profit overnight because oil just is a high cost of energy. So how are we going to achieve that? The Okudu power plant, the cornerstone, brings it down, makes it affordable, and then the renewables will provide a hedge, if you will. The hedge because it's only a 1% escalator. So when oil goes up to 150 and beyond, it just stays around 17 cents or so. So it keeps that, what used to be 31 cents, somewhere around the 17, 20 cents a kilowatt hour. Now now we have control over our usage because why? Okudu drops in 800,000 barrels. Phase 4, if we award all, phase 4 will drop it another 800,000 barrels. So we'll go from 3 million barrels a year consumption today down to about 1.4 million. So when you only are dealing with 1.4, it's huge. Second part, we need an additional energy source on the island. I'm sorry, I keep on going, but I'm giving the logic as to where we're heading, as to what we're looking at. No? The threat of China and all these other issues, by having more renewables with batteries in the system and achieving, say, about a 50% renewable portfolio, which is what we're trying to bring before the PUC. Then we have 50% of our energy that can be generated and shifted, just like any machine, that would help the island and not be entirely dependent on oil scenarios. So that's a scenario that is coming up. 87, yes, we certainly do need it. We need to overhaul the generator and other things just to make sure that, again, it doesn't have catastrophic failure when we need it the most. That's what this is.
Is Hanwha looking like that's going to come online in 26, or where are we at with that?
Well, they're proceeding. Now, how far yet? The real true tell will be around the early January or February. That's when everything has to be completely ordered. No? Okay. So if they don't order it, then that's where we're at.
And what kind of a reserve margin are we shooting for? At CCU or GPA come up with a specific number yet?
So the mandate we have is, of course, the PUC's 1 day in 4.5 years. So even today, we're not meeting that. No? Even when Ukudu comes on, I believe we meet that, but very little reserve level, for very little beyond that for load growth. I think I calculated that. I have one of my presentations that showed I think about 30-some megawatts for growth, and it's not going to cover all the scenarios that are coming up. What I did also show in my presentation the last time is that with phase 4, we're going to have about 200 megawatts over and above the circle plan. So with 200 megawatts now, then you can begin to plan and retire older legacy units. Make sure you have adequate for growth. So yeah, with all phase 4, I'm looking at the balance for growth and unit retirement at -36. So that's its percentage. with no growth and with, unless with, working to take over, to address the 70 megawatts that's coming on the line. In other words, the 70 megawatt, if we were to meet that, would be minus 36, so we can meet it. We only half of what we need, no? If we go to, with phase 4, we'll meet that load growth of 70 megawatt and still have 137 megawatt from one growth and retirement of units. But this combination of the two now will allow us to look at retirement and other things as we move on.
You're probably not going to think of retiring Dededo 1 and 2 until after phase 4 is complete.
That's correct. And secondly, that's been our hero. The plan has been our hero because that's the only plan that stayed on in Daipon Mall
Right.
and served Anderson Air Force Base. And so there were two underground lines, which prove our theory of our, not theory, but prove what we had noted that that's the model that will be should be used to do that. So and yeah, so what I did ask in that $6 billion request to FEMA was to 80 megawatt combustion turbine plant. And basically is to try and replace some of these units, more so on a reserve basis, no? But at least it got they're brand new, less maintenance costs. And then secondly, it allows us again to get parts and everything to make them, because again, their units already 30-some years old. No? But they're still running today. They're still saving until we can get Agreco is running, and we're running at 20 megawatts, and that's saving us fuel. As far as in our last report, I think we're 21 million under recovered. We recovered 2.5 million in July. I expect 2 or 3 more million in addition what do you call it, August, the end of this month. So we should see 2.5, maybe somewhere around 4.5 million recovered. So that probably will bring us to 17. So before the end of the year, if that trend continues, then I think we'll be fully recovered within maybe a month before the end of the period. Yeah? So,
Has CCU approved 192 megawatts of phase 4 solar with KEPCO and Cortec?
that's great. They approved it. And one of the things that is time sensitive, that's why I had them to break it up and move forward. Yeah? Because all of these plans are all over the place, yeah? The solar, so you have to do system impact study as to the location, its impact to the system. And again, they're rebuilding the model, and it takes a while, or engineering firm, independent firm that's doing that for the team. It's also taken almost 2 years to get to this point. We issued the bid in December of 2022. The bid and pricing will be open until December of 2023. And then they agreed to the system impact. So since December is already August, 8 months later, and everything's not yet complete. So it's a lengthy process to get this thing in. So that's why part of the reason why I've recommended we move forward and then work backwards. What do I mean by that? I don't like working backwards, but what I mean by that is that to get more lower cost renewables in here, we have asked for, again, under the FEMA, no? For 180 megawatts, 5-hour battery to be centralized, and that will consist of 4 units in different locations on the island. What that will do now is eliminate the need for everyone to have batteries. The economies of scale is such that we can charge that from the conventional generator, we can charge it from the doctor, we can have people, customers put in just a little battery for the intermittency like this, but not the shift. The shifter now will be the centralized battery.
Yeah.
And that is, compared to what, the proponents will cost proponents like in a utility scale, it could cost them anywhere from 5 to 7 cents a kilowatt hour. If we did a centralized battery, it costs us 2 cents because you spread it out over the whole 1.5 billion kilowatt hours. Because that's who is serving, no? Not just putting this in and giving you 132 megawatts. It's now serving the whole community. So again, that's something that we're looking when will come forward. We're still going to evaluate that. We're still pushing and working with FEMA. They did ask us to give them a $2 billion listing as to what this, if we have $2 billion, what would be the priority. We have given them that stuff. So hopefully, at least that conversation is still going on. But if we get that funding, then of course it's a new ballgame, no?
Yeah.
That's 500 million, and that is the 198,
Okay.
180 megawatt battery. Everything is kind of planning. So therefore, Mr. Chair, that means you can get now renewables maybe for somewhere around 11, 12 cents a kilowatt hour, and they don't have to put in such a big battery.
Because you'll have the battery already. Yeah.
If you have the battery, sure. And the batteries that they put in and it's costing 7 cents, so which of course we're paying for the process, right? It's not, it cannot be dispatched other than for their use.
Right.
I can't tell them run this, do it and let me charge it and so, because then we run the liabilities, all kinds of issues. So that's why we're having this scenario. And so looking ahead, that's kind of how everything is coming together.
Okay. On the phase 4 bids, when you're working with the companies, Kepco and Vortec and the others, are you requiring that sourcing of some of the components like panels and especially inverters be from certain jurisdictions and not others?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think we did that.
I guess what I'm asking is, are we avoiding using inverters from China?
Yes, that I think we are for sure, because that, yeah, we were getting them from Siemens, Germany, and other places.
Okay.
That inverters is a particular one, but again, as far as panels and all of that, most of it is still coming out of China.
Yeah, panels are fine.
Yeah, but the inverters, yes, we're very specific about that.
Thank you, John. Any other questions, Rowena?
John, just curious, what was the reason for not doing the overhaul in 2022?
Part of it is again, in 2022, well, I'm not quite sure. I think part of it was capacity reasons, I believe. We had other units being overhauled at the time, so even like today, we're taking one at a time. Right now, we have some work on PD number 8 that has to be, 9 that has to be done. But we can't let it go until we get PD 7 up. And again, also just reserve issues. Cappers were having issues before. So, yeah, they're not from wood. Cappers has been working quite well now. They've been putting out like 83 megawatts straight. And so then we'll take her down for about 7-10 days, or when there's a order too big. But that is nowhere like where it was in October, November last year, when we couldn't keep the unit up, and stuff. So it's been running well, and if it runs well, then it also helps us with the energy. But we haven't had load shedding really until, and that, even that, when I've been there, was in the middle of peak. Jigo and one of the data units tripped. And so whenever something trips, the unit we have to trip, it has to automatically trip other areas in the system, otherwise to avoid a blackout. And that's what it did. It continues to religiously do that. Then we have to put other units on. So everyone was back, I mean, from 8:36 to about 9:12. Trip 8:36, the significant came on 9:12, everyone was back. So, but we haven't had no load shedding in July, and I guess since I remember Thanksgiving last year when you said we do our best, very little. I think it's like 0.01 or 1% is the unserved load since November of last year. Again, the record is really helping now, so. And thank you, commissioners, for approving the extension of the acceleration of Ukulu. It's 90% complete. The pipelines are basically complete. The tanks are also sulfur diesel is complete. The GPA 1935 is complete and filling up with oil. So sometime before the end of the year, we'll be pumping oil up to Okudo. And the key about that approval is that September 30 is the dateline. If they don't meet, $240,000 a day penalty. The second part is that they have that extra million if they complete it by September 50. So that's the total of the fine. And again, if I was them, I'll try and complete it earlier. And that's what it's looking like. So it might be, I'm thinking Laurie, what we're taking a team, who's got, I'm thinking mine is July 15th, so.
But they're gonna start operating some of the system even early next year.
Yes, originally they said February or March, but I think they're gonna be starting earlier. I think it's in their best interest to get it down as soon as possible. No?
Yeah.
But this is giving them a jump start to make that happen. I don't think they want to wait for another typhoon or, I mean, not that they were waiting, no, but I think lessons learned get them very quickly.
One more question. And looking at the question of life expectancy of PD7 was not answered. I looked through the responses here. I know that GPA wants to keep it going for another 5 years, but considering the investment of the overhaul, what are you looking at in its performance over all these years, average of life expectancy?
It can go much more. Yeah, this overall really, part of it is the generator. The generator has not been overhauled in how many years? Exactly, right?
6 years.
6 years. So that's the key. And again, you don't want to catch the target failure, right? So as long as we do regular maintenance with it. Secondly, again, you give us an opportunity to rerun all the numbers, settle in and say, okay, what is our plan? Which generators are we going to run? The other thing to note is that the plan before was to get Ukudu and then retire some of the other plans. At some point, we weren't doing as much as we wanted to in these plants. However, the shortage of capacity has now put us in the position where we need every megawatt out of the system. So some of the things that we have done, Greg mentioned, the Menengan is solid now. Tenjo units used to be only 2 running or so. Now we have 4, and maybe the 5th one will be running soon. Jigu City, again, the Harden has been replaced. Majechi, Harden has been replaced. Derrido 1 and 2, again, also we have some work done on them. So the money that we were going to put after the overhaul is actually happening now, investing into those units. So then we'll take a look at all of them and see where our cost is. Because again, when we retire Campus 1 and 2, Okudu is running, we really get relegated to standby scenario. So the opportunity of reducing operating and other manning costs and everything is there. Yeah. We're not running, again, we don't want to run it because they're not the only one that will run first will be PD 8 and 9. In terms of efficiency, in my, what I try to let persons down, hopefully, the ED7, 9 kilowatt hours per gallon, or Digital 8 per gallon of fuel. ED9, MEC 8 and 9, 15, Ufudu greater than 20, around 21 for the same gallon of fuel. Okay. So these are the ones that are going to run, 8 and 9 will run. And so my projections is really running 80% of the time. Then PD will drop to about P8 and 9, the NAC plan will drop to about 15%. And the others are just basically what we call testing, they come up, test, sit down, just be ready for what they need it. There's a big difference in the change.
And once we have phase 4 done, the next few years, you're gonna have over 400 megawatts of solar. On a good sunny day, technically, you can probably shut down most of the units. That's what's gonna be happening with Ubudu for a period of time in the middle of the day, possibly.
That's correct. What I was thinking, the most efficient way for it is just to keep backing off. And I don't think we'll be running 3 units with this older solar. For sure, we're not running 3 units, we'll be running 2. So you back off 2. Then if you have to, then you back off to 1 and keep it the one running at its highest efficiency, no? Almost fully loaded. Fully loaded, you're running the steam turbine. That gives you the efficiency. So this is what you have to do. So that's why centralized battery now, put in here, instead of backing this off, keep them running, you have the 2 units and capture all the solar renewables and shift that around. And then on non-solar days, in the early morning, you can use that to charge the batteries and stuff. So yes, I'm excited. It's very realistic. We're almost there.
Once all the pieces are in place, it's gonna be a nice setup.
It'll be a very nice. 50% of the energy. What does that also do? That means that we have 50%, about 50% more time capacity. Right? That means that when oil prices go down, now you can fill up the tanks. Something we cannot do today. So there's opportunities to serve. That means that if there's a conflict with China, you fill up the tanks and you can last twice as long, plus the renewables, that gives this island an opportunity to keep burning along and not worry about shipping blockades or delays or not being able. So it puts us really in a very resilient position. No? That's why underground, we're still going to keep the overhead until we get over this conflict. That way we have options. If something goes down, boom, fix it, get the power flowing. So I'm excited. Things are falling in place. I mean, and of course, Jennifer's hearing all this. So she knows all of this. She understands it.
Thank you, John. Thanks, Jennifer. Anything else from the commissioners?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. So this tennis contract, is this a year to year, the $3.5 million is every year?
No, this is a one-time overall.
One time overall, and then, but are you converting it into PMC?
No.
You're running it and fix it?
We're still operating and maintaining it.
Okay.
We just wanted to fix it.
So it's 3.5.
Because when we went out for bid, maybe we didn't own the machine yet and stuff. So, but we had permission that we could add additional work from combustion turbines, understanding
So
that.
the cost is 3.5
Yeah,
million.
just a one-time.
And then the field cost you mentioned, that makes it to 40, that's field that they would have spent anyways. Right.
And that will go away, we'll run it less and less as we move forward.
So, and then you mentioned that the Hanwha, was coming in 2026. Where are they with their first, on their first milestone? Did they reach that?
Reach most of their milestones. There's a trigger milestone, which I believe is March 25, that will allow us to determine whether they're going to be able to purchase their solar panels, and the date that may we'll see whether they're going to make their commissioning date or not, and so there's a cancellation clause there.
Right.
So,
And that's at the $4 million deposit.
So the cancellation would be to retain their bid security.
If they don't make it, so that would pretty much cover Templeton. 3.5. So, yeah, they don't, because the price of solar panels will probably change compared to their bid and their extension afterwards. So
Right,
we'll see.
and T&D, the first time T&D prices have been, material prices have been going up, and supply chain.
Yeah, so it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So even now, that's part of the reason why we need to get Kepco going, and others, because, again, it's been like 8 months, 9 months since they put the pricing in. And Kepco is gonna put 115 all the way from,
Talking about phase 4 now?
yeah, for phase 4, I'm sorry, I'm shifting over. From, just, where the windmill is, Starson, Holmes area,
Right.
all the way from there, all the way to PD, putting in 115.
They're one of the two that was approved. So,
Being doing that, any proponent, any land on the way in the next bid is also has an opportunity to reduce its transmission. Yes, for potentially.
That 115 going to follow the road?
Yes, and he's gonna put the mounted tubes all the way from
Uh-huh.
the
Eagle Base.
Carson area
Yeah.
to Accra.
Mhm.
I think that's I measured it the other day, 4.5 miles. How do you measure it and we still say 4 miles? And then from Accra to PD, 4.5 miles. But that has already the mounted tubes. So they'll be dropping 34 cars and upgrading the top.
Oh, okay.
So that will do, but there will be new mounted tubes all the way from Accra substation all the way to that area that
So the height's okay with the existing 34?
Yes, they're going to go up to 34. My understanding is there will be two 34 bases on each side of the molecule, 115 on the top and then 13.8 on the bottom.
just to
Those are
continue,
65 footers.
just to continue the line of questioning. So Okadu, when that comes online, and that's the 192. Jeff mentioned earlier that we have about 400 megawatts of solar plus whatever megawatts we have in generators, right, that's already out there. So, and then we have load growth estimated to be about maybe a total of 50 plus megawatts, 70 megawatts with the military and the business side. Is Okadu, and you kind of were talking about the three starting up in February, March. Is it designed so that when you take it down for maintenance in the future, every 4 years, or is it, do you alternate the generators within it, or do you have to take out all 192 at one time?
You have to take out basically almost all 192 except for 45 megawatt. Because what you're going to be overhauling once every 4 years is the steam turbine. So there's 345 feeding into a 63 steam, so you're taking out the steam. Because this is the emission here, why if you're running continuously, all three, you're gonna eat up all of your emission permit. No? So that's why we can only run it for a very little period of time. That's why we have to run everything else. And that was also part of, we were hoping that 41 megawatts plus others would have helped us through that period, but now that's why we're kind of having to keep we did mention the 41, having to keep the other generators just for that period. And then how do you counter that in cheaper costs when we have batteries?
Right. So if your peak right now is about 250,
No, last week, 267,
267?
yeah.
So then you add on, let's say whatever growth, we're at 300 plus megawatts operating, and then when you take out that 150, 145 maybe of Ogaduke, when you take it down for maintenance, do we have enough without Temis or without PD7? Without this
Down the road, you could make those decisions, which one you're gonna take, will take on. In fact, down the road, we'll make that analysis and provide, how do we meet your criteria of 1 day and 4.5, based on all of this, based on the batteries, based on the load flow, how much can we retire, and which ones are the least, most folks.
So this particular document is the 3.5 million is what you need.
Yes, this is, that down the road, when I mean down the road is we're getting phase 4 approved, and they're heading in that direction. So we're gonna start studying it so that when phase 4 comes on the line, then, then we have a plan as to where we're going. No? So my other plan, or my other thought is I hope with all the data centers and everything coming up, that's going to bring more base rate revenues to the GPA.
Okay.
And I'm going to see.
Last, just for note, out of curiosity, you mentioned that you put in a request with FEMA for 80 megawatts of generator. Of the battery.
Yeah,
And where
no,
did
let me,
I think you mentioned
let me
about 80
summarize
megawatts too.
the FEMA, no? 6.4 billion, and then out of that, within that 6.4 billion, there's a tier 1, tier 2, and a tier 3. Tier 1, 2, and 3 is 2.3 billion. In that, it includes the batteries, it includes underground for transmission, underground for distribution, for water wells, communication station, medical, and in that, in the bottom of it, is 80 megawatts of combustion turbine.
Sure, what it's called.
Yeah. So right now, it's not yet real, no, the thing, but it's there. But again, in terms of priority, is there, if they cut it off in this level, I'm not gonna
Have you
argue.
gotten any feedback from this request?
Well, they're asking us for 2 billion, but so there's all, so actually there's communications going on, but I don't know. All I know is that, all I know is, I have a good feeling that we're gonna get something, because why can the Virgin Island get 3 billion, Puerto Rico get 11 billion, I only asked for 6 and I don't even get 2? No, it don't make sense. So,
Right, especially when the
critical,
tip of the spear.
critical infrastructure.
Right.
So really, DOD, Navy and everything, they always said, oh, I cannot give you money, it's not been, but FEMA could, in my understanding. So we've asked everyone to try. So, you know me, I'm an optimistic person, but then I go and drive the optimism. So that's kind of where I'm at, right?
Good luck with that.
Yeah, thank you. We get that and I'll retire, right?
I don't think you're going anywhere. I don't think anybody's going to get you.
So yeah, to continue with the centralized battery, 180 megawatts, is there, the batteries that are you looking at, is there a capacity reduction factor over like 5 years, or how often does it?
You can order something that, which is guaranteed over whatever, 2025, or which means though that they will have probably a replacement model in between or so. So what I'm looking at for is a total 180 decide where we're gonna put it. My thoughts were, again, just to work on getting this sold forward, was to break it down into 45 megawatt, 5-hour batteries. You put one on Anderson Air Force Base, that would serve the Anderson for one or a full complete 24 hours without GPA. Put one on, in Naval Station, that would take care of that, right? Then you put on the Ukudu area, serve the Cam Bluffs, and we will put one in Marco. We haven't determined which one yet, but the good news is that no matter where you put it, it's tied into the 34.5. So you can feed, if you don't need it, you can feed it anywhere in the system. But what I'm trying to tell the military and everyone is that if you talk about reliability and resiliency, this is the answer. Putting four, so help me get this, help us get it done. Because it makes sense. I mean, what else does it do? For the basis, it provides excellent power quality. The battery is like a UPS. They get excellent power quality. They get almost a whole day of reserve energy that can run the bases. What else can you ask for? So I'm hoping it's just that, that nobody wants to give up their dollars, that's all. Especially DOD, right?
Well, there'll be replacement parts available to keep it at 180.
Yes, because they really have to be maintained. It also requires some energy, which is to keep all the batteries cool. And that was the issue several years ago when they were having battery fires and stuff. So even our contract now, one had before it was all replaced before they was installed. Was replaced with the new design and everything. So that's the key is they have to keep the batteries cool. And,
So what is the expectation of holding 180 before you do a replacement part? Is it 5 years or?
on which one, I'm sorry?
On holding the 180? It's gonna hold 180 for 5 years or
The
before replacement?
integration is not much as long as you keep it within the 80 to 20%.
Oh, got it.
So as long as you don't run it down up and down, so keep it in that range, then it basically runs. So therefore, that's how we manage it, that's how we dispatch it, right? So the 300, whatever I'm saying in the 4 hours, 4.5, it's true. The batteries, for them, they will decide it higher than that, so that we'll be able to run here, and therefore they keep their batteries.
So, this is something that I think we've already clarified tonight, but I wanted to just focus on this point. I can understand Fred's hesitation at first because it seems like it's really expensive to operate 87. I mean, not the 3.5 million is kind of relatively minor considering as compared to the operating costs with the fuel maintenance. $40 million operating cost, but I'm just wondering, and I think the concern is going to be, if once we have a new power plant, why do we need to spend all of this on a plant that should be eventually decommissioned? But I think that, what you said, John, is that once the new power plant is operating, then that $40 million annual cost is going to be greatly reduced. So I just wanted to ask, for sort of the comparison, like right now, PD7 is operating, 80% of the time, 70% of the time, as compared to how much it will be operating once the new power plant is up. I'm just wondering.
When comes on the line, it basically goes to reserve.
So where would that $40 million?
So let me give you an idea. My projections now showed Ukudu in 2026 will run at about what, it's in my presentation here somewhere, 1.3, close to 1.3 billion kilowatt hours. And our requirement is about 1.6 billion, okay? Then about 200 million or so will be run by PD 8 and 9. And then I believe less than 25 million will be all the rest of the combustion turbines and everybody else. Even less than 1%. That's the
So the 40 million would then reduce down to,
doorway. But
down to,
Replace its production.
yeah,
Lower.
okay.
and lower that. So the 40 million, I mean, I can make a calculation, but we just run it once, twice a month at the most. That's 2 months, 40. Just take 40, 30 megawatts times. Sorry. 30 megawatt times,
We'll produce probably gonna run at 60-70% less cost than E7. It's about 40 million, might go down to 12, 15 million. Somewhere in there, the replacement cost. You're probably gonna save probably close to 25 million of that 40 million. Still gotta produce
So-
the energy.
even if you run it, and I doubt you run it for 2 days, 8 hours, for 8 hours for 2 days, because this is going to be a reserve, no? We go down to 150,000. So if you run it that way for the whole 12 years, then you're talking about 1.5 million. If you did that, but I don't see that, it's not going to be running there.
That's right, that's kind of the point I was making. It's
Yeah.
not, that we're not looking at 40 million in cost. We're looking at the 3.5 is really what we're talking about. It just seems like it pretty clearly makes sense to do.
That's right, then take it over, capacity, no? Look at the temporary power, no? $11 million a year, although it's more efficient, and we're trying to get 6 million out of that, it costs us 5 million net, no? It's still, that's still a much bigger cost than having the capacity that you just will maintain.
And the overhaul itself will also make it more efficient, so it's going to be more fuel efficient too.
Yeah, a little bit, but more importantly, reliability is there. That's why the Themis 87 was brought up. Back in, Fred was the counsel, and I was our consulting firm was Merge Pacific, and I was the GM for Merge Pacific during that period. That's why we recommended MEC 8 and 9, 88 megawatts. Then we also said put what do you call it, Hawaiian Electric to repair the Tengisan 1 and 2. And then get PD7, because even though it's inefficient, it's cheaper to pay on a monthly basis. You only need it for a short period of time as necessary. That's why 8 and 9 now is the most efficient. And then Tengisan, of course, we retired already, but that was, and that was done within 90 days. 90 days from the time the law, and then that was done, I think the authorization there that was given was by law, noted in the law was 40 megawatts. But the decision was made there very wisely by the board, and of course Fred, I'm sure with the first guidance, that if you only put 40 megawatt already, you know the next year you're not going to have enough capacity. What is the legislature going to do? Come back to you and say, what the heck, you don't know what you're doing. Why didn't you say something? So that's why instead of 40 megawatts, they got 86 plus 40, 126 plus a repair of 50. 176. And if we didn't have that 176 in more recent days or whatever, we'd have been back to 1993. So, right, you know that now, right? For sure.
You're on the committee.
Yes. So my group name was Merge Pacific. Sinclair and I merged out of Australia. And so then I was their local RME and stuff. Still remember that.
1996 was the year that I passed the bar exam, so I was brand new back then.
Oh, Fred was really unemployed then already.
Well, yeah, actually, the law, the legislative law, yeah, I think it said 40 megawatts. Basically, there was a loophole. So we took the loophole and drove a Mack truck through it, to create all those new power
We
plants.
didn't have any of this today, in the past decade or so, we were doing really.
So John, you're telling us that Fred was a hero even before we got him?
Yes, yes, of course. I remember very, thank you, Fred, for recommending to Baxter.
Now, just one more question I got out of curiosity is, the peak load was 267 the other night. It's sort of been flat for quite a while now. What do you attribute to the increase in demand?
Actually, it's been growing already now and since 4 months, 3 or 4 months back. It's peaking higher than it was in 2023, of course, 2023, of course, because Mawar didn't go until May. But even now, as you look at it against 2022, we're climbing now. Part of it is, donkey came on, no?
Donkey.
Yeah, donkey, okay. And then, of course, they're doing the bases, no? The Ambulance, I'm sure they're putting on there.
Yeah.
Carriers also are coming in here more regularly.
Yeah.
I don't, we told them, make sure you tell us if you're, you're tying it into the system. Yeah? I looked at the numbers from last quarter, for the 1 year period. We used to be just growing with about 400 or 500 customers. This last year alone, we grew 1,000 customers. So things are growing. It's a lot of construction that are going on there, that even, and data centers are coming there. Yeah, the construction, because maybe the hotels have not been coming back. But again, the hotels can only go down so far, because if they don't keep their air conditioning down, then forget it, they're gonna have to renovate the whole thing, get moldy and everything, right? So therefore that, so, and I think I'm not sure, but first of the other thing is rebates, no? We've been giving out rebates for air conditioning and all of that.
Yeah.
And so maybe we're getting to the point where a lot of people are already energy efficient, and now we're starting to grow. See what I mean? Because we're putting in the rebate for that, everyone's buying more efficient air conditioners. And even the new ones that are coming on the line are buying and getting the rebate, which is good. That way we're making everyone, we're not serving too much inefficient energy, right? So maybe that's my other thought is that I think we're close to maxing that out, and now we're starting to grow. So.
Did you see part of the customer assist program, or are they using the generators at peak?
No, they're not part of the intro.
Is that program still?
Yeah, that's but there not many are there. The only ones that are based in there now is the airport, no? GRMC, Hilton, all the others, they're not really that interested in, what that means, right? They have to put investments in their generators and stuff. So the ones that have been helping us also is the DOD, Olodi Power Plant. So they did get 6 megawatts up, and when they're in there, we call on them and they come on. Yeah, I'm sorry, 6 megawatts, that's 12 megawatts. And so we're working now to help them fix the third one, so that if necessary, we can call on them.
Do they run that?
Yeah, the Jennifer Coles, they run, and so,
No, but I mean, they run those plants?
but for a long time, it wasn't running.
Yeah.
And so as part of the program over the last 6 months or so, right, they've been starting to put,
See,
yeah. So,
okay.
and we're still working to take over distribution of DOD. It's who can do distribution in this island, Guam Power Authority. What does that mean when you take over distribution? Probably gonna make about, anyway, I'm thinking about $12 million more a year in revenue. What are they gonna save? Maybe 3 times that. So we already have the inventory, we're training the linemen, we got the trucks, you just set dedicated crews in the military base, which is not a significant number. Our distribution cost is 4 cents. What is their cost? But why not look at the water?
Yeah,
Look at the water raising.
yeah.
Well, you didn't have to look at the power side, right? But they're very, but imagine how much that will be.
But DZSP might take you off their Christmas card list, John.
Huh? Oh, yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I hardly ever read those anyway. I just digress.
Okay, is there a motion? You ready?
Motion to approve EPA docket 2421.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Jennifer.
Mr. Gomez.
No. The next docket, GPA docket number 2422 is tabled until next month, right, Joe Fed? Yeah. Administrative matters, resolution 2402, an employment agreement for Sheila Salas. Lou, are you going to comment on this?
I prepared, went ahead and prepared this hearing and was asking.
Okay. Thank you, Lou. Any comments from the commissioners? Liz first. You guys all have a copy? Got a minute
Before the citizen stuff.
Yeah, it's the front part of the administrative, yeah. I'll leave them over. comments or questions, or is there a motion? Go ahead, Louis.
For the hours of work, is there going to be flexed hours when the evening, our meeting hours have to be, Commission's meeting have to be covered? Flexible time, or is it strictly 8 to 5, 5 days a week, and then overtime hours afterwards?
Actually, her, she's salary is actually more clear. So, but her salary is so we get better. That's actually how they offer salary is just that at that time, there's a very
This is including labor is in compliance, labor law.
the salary.
It's the category of the position for it to be salary under, to be exempt from overtime, you have to be manager, you can be executive, or, I mean, there has to be a basis for the exemption.
I only follow this salary that can actually be out of contract. So, you know, that's a salary. So I'm not too sure how this is this has to switch it into payroll, but on salary. And on the salary, is paid, yeah, correct, paid. $86.27, yeah. I believe so. Yeah. So there's, are you asking for salary?
No, she's on salary.
Yes, yes.
What's her title?
Her salary is 44.
Her title?
Her title is administrative.
It's just,
I think so, actually. Yeah, I think we have to look at that. I think that we need to make sure that she qualifies as exempt from overtime. I don't, from what I'm seeing, I don't know if there's a category of exemption that she would fall within. We probably have to pay overtime if she's working more than 40 hours a week.
Right. I'll take a look at that. That's a good, that was her.
maybe that's just something you do on a scheduled basis. Yeah, for like during meeting days, just coming at 12 or something. 12.
Yeah, I would just keep track of the time so that if she's working more than 40 hours in a week, then she's overtime.
Anything else?
I move to approve resolution 24-2.
Your second. Joe seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Next is our citizen-centric report. Any comments, Lou?
Well, I presented the best I can, I tried to switch it around.
I think it looks good.
I don't appreciate the squeezing out of the photo.
I wish you would have made Mr. Montano's head just a little bit larger.
Just a little bit more rounder, you know.
It's like a great thing.
He's really calling me a watermelon head.
There's a nice shine on the forehead.
Yeah.
Well, right there with Jeff.
There's a lot of white hair up there too.
I'll take that
too,
as a compliment.
Joe, you need to get your white hair going to catch up to the rest of it. Yeah, just for informational purposes. So, that, I'm just gonna move on. If anybody wants to make any comments on the citizens centered report, we can do that later.
This is for 2024.
Or last year. A review of employment application for Marie Leon Guerrero for informational purposes only. Marie is, we want to have 2 employees here, so we're losing Colleen after this meeting tonight. So that's going to be a tragic loss for we all. And I believe, I've been speaking with Lou, I think Lou is going to stay with us until the end of the calendar year. So she can help us transition to Yeah. We're gonna lose both Colleen and Lou this year.
What is Marie coming on board as?
But application and you guys can be sure.
And she's still interested.
Yeah, so what I appreciate.
Okay.
So you have to decide. I
And,
couldn't decide it.
okay. She'd be available to meet with us at the next meeting?
Yes, we can have it, call and have it.
Sheila, you're staying with us, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Can't leave now, you know, once you're in, it's like the Hotel California, you can come in, but you can't check out.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. I think that's it. Is there a motion to
Motion to
adjourn?
adjourn.
Thank you. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Sign in order, guys. Thank you.